So there I was on an airplane, and for whatever reason, the internet goes down. I like to track my path across the country as I'm flying, but without the internet and without any back of the seat screens, we were left with only our guess of where we were. So I got thinking to myself, I have a data set in JMP, it's a sample data set, that contains information for air traffic. In fact, if I go to the sample data directory and type in air traffic, we can bring up this data set. Now, the purpose of this data set was to make a bubble plot showing the traffic across the United States for different planes. Now, what this meant is that I had the latitude and longitude for my departure and arrival airports, and I could construct a minute-by-minute data set showing me where I was. Now, it turns out this is fairly simple. I just needed to get the latitude and longitude first, and then, with JMP, plot the actual path of my airplane. So let's see how this works. I'm going to find Philadelphia, where I was starting. So we have a line here, Philadelphia, and I have the latitude and longitude. Now what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to close this window and go to my blank data set I already have. And I'm going to make a couple new columns, because what I want is for this column to be the longitude and this one to be the latitude. I also want a column that has time. Now my flight took off at 4:30 p.m. on Eastern Standard Time. I'll enter this as 16:30:00, and JMP recognizes this as standard time format. Now for the latitude and longitude from my departure airport, I can simply take these two cells, I'll select them here, right-click and copy, and take them over to the new table. Great, so with these two values there, I actually have my starting point. Now, what I want to do is have JMP create a minute-by-minute account for where my plane is. So what I'm eventually going to want to do is over the 6 hours of my flight, actually see the progression of my plane. Now here's what I can do. I'm going to add in one new row with 16:31. Now notice JMP interprets that as 1 minute forward. I can take these two rows, right-click, go to Fill, and say Continue Sequence 2. Now this is asking me what row number I want JMP to continue until. Well, if there are 60 minutes in an hour, and I'm flying for 6 hours, that's just 360 rows. And so when I hit OK, JMP will actually fill this all the way down until 10:29 p.m., which is my landing time on Eastern Standard Time. I can take this ending point, which is supposed to be San Diego. Let me find that in this data set. And so with the San Diego airport information here, I'll take the destination, latitude and longitude, copy that to the clipboard, and paste it here. Now, if we were to look at these on a bubble plot right now, let me just show you. I'll take time here as my time variable, longitude as the x, and latitude as the y. We only have 2 time points. So let me just right-click, add in a background map, and put on the US states. So when I drag this cursor, my dot disappears until we get to the very end. Not very helpful, so since all I have is the actual end and start points. So here's what we can do. Let's let JMP fill in the rest of these. If I wanted to, I can figure out the actual function, over 360 minutes, how much should I add to the longitude or add to the latitude in order to end up at those values. But since JMP has built-in modeling, of course, we can let it do this. So we can accomplish this through analyze fit y by x. Here, I'm going to take latitude and longitude as a thing I'm predicting, and I'll take time as my factor. This will be a bivariate, and JMP will show us first the scatter plots. Now, it may look a little bit odd, right? We thought we were moving across the country in a positive way, but notice that moving west is actually more negative. So in both of these, we're actually going to look for a negative regression slope. So what we're going to want to do is fit lines for each of these two outputs. To do this all at once, I'll hold down Command, select the red triangle, and fit a line. So we have a linear fit, and of course it fits perfectly. With only 2 points, we have to get a perfectly fitting line. But what we actually want is these two formulas, the formulas that relate time to the actual destination points. And so what we can do all at once, I'll hold down Command, select the red triangle again, and select Save Predicteds. So now we actually have two formulas saved to our data table. That's the actual function relating time, in this case, to movement across the country. So now let me go back to bubble plot. I'll add time in again as my time variable, predicted longitude as the x, and predicted latitude as the y. We actually will have all the data points, and in order to get the background map, I'll right click, select background map, and I'll put on US states. And so now, with a couple of adjustments, let me make my pointer a little smaller. I'm going to make the shape an arrow, and I'm going to tell Jump to orient the shape. So now we can watch my plane flight minute by minute across the country. I'll speed this up a little bit so we can see it happen. And just so we can see the path, I'm also going to say, do a trail line for everything in the data set. And so now we can see our path going across the country minute by minute.